The title of this podcast is Appreciate What's Going On in Real Time instead of fighting it or resisting it. I've been given a lot of thought to being in the present moment. With every day, I began it with a practice to help me stay rooted in the present moment with reality instead of being at the effect of what my mind says is reality, which is not, is very subjective. And in this particular topic was inspired by an interview with the basketball player Steph Curry on the JJ Redick podcast. It's about 40 minutes in if you want to check that out. But in talking about it, he talks about being in the moment and appreciating the reality of that moment. And for me, what I think about is many times I've done the exact opposite, especially before the practice, where I resisted the moment. I wanted it to be different. And I even tried to go as far as forcing it to be different. And that kind of unnecessary energy was a waste, and it only caused suffering for me and perhaps other people around me as well. And it prevented me from growing and cultivating inner peace. And so there's a big cost to that. When I practiced being aware and surrendering to the moment, things always worked out. They always did. If I needed to act, I did it from a place of conscious surrender that began with first accepting the moment exactly as it was, appreciating it, not saying or wasting energy wanting it to be different. So, for example, if I got a flat tire, instead of complaining about how awful this is or whatever, I would hopefully, I've expressed gratitude for having the resources to get the tire repaired, for being safe and not causing harm to me or someone else. So I've been present in that moment because of the practice. And instead of how I would have reacted in the past, which was, this shouldn't be happening. What's wrong? Who would leave something in the road to do this? I know I shouldn't have gone there to help a friend out. This would have never happened. Just all of that nonsense, which isn't true and doesn't change the fact that I'm dealing with a flat tire. So appreciating it and not wasting that energy is helpful because I can get on with the business of resolving the problem. And this has been true for me in so many places, but that conscious surrender of really being aware of what's going on in the present moment, and again, not what my mind is saying about the moment, has been key to me really getting into a flow state with life. All actions that are initiated from that flow state, just bring incredible blessings down the road, even if they are not visible, not apparent in the moment. And so I just look at my short career at Mayo Clinic, and there have been so many things that have happened in that short time that I was consciously surrendering to the moment. I was very aware. And I'm grateful for that. And I know it couldn't have been without the practice. And you can start with how I started at Mayo Clinic, of just volunteering, and just wanting to serve. And along the way, all the opportunities that happened when I was let go during the pandemic and asking to volunteer again, I didn't make a fuss about being letting go. I just accepted it and surrendered to it. And it opened another door, a door that wouldn't have been here if I'd acted in the other way, acted from the place of, from my lower self. I've worked with some different managers along the way, and some of which my ego immediately, without even knowing them, made a problem with their style or how we got along or narratives that they're not supportive. And on one or two occasions, some friends who are on this journey too have helped me become conscious again and be with reality of the other person. And they helped me see that my mind had, pulled one over on me and I had it all wrong. And because I can reflect back on those instances, and there were many in which my mind has given me terrible advice, when subsequent interactions with colleagues would happen, I did not make a mess of those things. I was not a troublemaker in those interactions. Instead, I was peaceful. I was in a flow state, and I was surrendering to the moment. If this was their style, it's their style. I'm good with it. and I didn't make a problem of it. And lo and behold, they were really supportive. They were actually supportive, and they were probably that way the whole time. But because it sounded different, looked different, I didn't see it. And most recently, we were working. I was asked for support to go and do something that I hadn't done before, and I felt like I could be useful. And it was a request that was coming from another manager that I get involved. And when I asked for people's feedback that I report to, they raised some questions and were kind of leaning toward no. And instead of trying to plead the case or argue in favor of it, I just accepted it. And then an inspiring leader called me to find out more and asked if I was okay with the decision, in which I said, yes, I'm totally okay with the decision. I will talk to the manager and let them know that I'm declining their request without any information because it's not necessary. And before I did that, this leader asked me, what do I really think about, the decision? And I asked him, could I speak freely? And told him, first of all, I will follow whatever their directive is. And then secondly, I thought that I could be useful, and I thought it would be good and in line with what our mission was. And the leader, to their credit, they listened. And then they changed their opinion about it, and they lent their support to me being involved. And it turned out to go really, really well. But the most important thing about this is, one, the leader is amazing. And two, it was because I surrendered to what was happening in the moment. I didn't make a mess of things internally or externally. So I invite you that whatever's going on in your world, to just relax, lean back, surrender to the moment. Don't try to force anything. And when action is called for, you'll take right action. But it'll be action that is rooted from a place of surrender, of really honoring the moment that's in front of you instead of the moment that you wished it was. And in my case, it's always worked out for the better. And so I hope it will for you too if you give this a try.